Jimmy and Stevie Vaughan, I met them back in 1969. They was living in Dallas and I was living in Waco and had my music operation in Waco. So Jimmy and Stevie Ray would come over to the Waco store, usually on the weekend, and spend a good bit of time just playing around on guitars. Never did buy much, but just enjoyed coming over, and I never did have any problem with them playing around, tuning around different guitars. So, and they knew it, and they're just good guys. I liked both of them, even though they wasn't big money spenders. Actually, because they didn't have any money, I guess, much to spend. But so they would come over to the Waco store in the '69, and that went on for several years. And then in 1974, I decided to move over to the Austin area and open my store here in Austin. Strange enough, they moved over here the same year. All of us being in the same town, Stevie would spend most of his days right here in this building. He'd come in usually when it opened in the mornings and spend most of the day, all day long, right here, playing all different sorts of guitars, just tuning them around, because I didn't mind. I liked Stevie. Music really wasn't our connection at all. Stevie was just a buddy. I just liked, we were just friends, because you know he was into different kind of music than I was. And then in later on in '74, he came by this particular day and was looking around as he usually do, going up and down the rows of guitars, taking them down, feeling of them, when he discovered this old Stratocaster that I had hanging. He took it down, looked at it, felt of it, and fingled around with it for a pretty good while. And finally he stuck it up there and he said, "Hey Ray, what's with this? How much you take for this?" At that time I looked up and I recognized the one he had. It is no real raggedy thing. It is like, of course you can't wear a fender out. I said, "Stevie, you know, that's the worst guitar I guess I've ever traded for in the history of this business. I can't understand why you'd want something that beat up and tore up." He said, "You know, Ray, I like the way it feels." I said, "Well, it probably don't work." I took this old Stratocaster apart with him helping me, and we redid it, and wasn't nothing broke on it. It just needed all reset up, and we got it all set up like he liked it. And he said, "Well, I'll trade you the one he brought in with him for the old junker." Well, of course it was both mine, because the one he was that he brought in was nearly a new Strat, but I had loaned it to him. And so I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to trade, because you know, you trade me a nice new one for this old junk." And so that's the way Steve had come up about getting that old guitar. And Steve had told me so many times, if it hadn't have been for him discovering this old guitar, he said, he would have never played guitar like he does. He credited the feel of that guitar for his playing like he does, because it just fit. And the guitar, like I say, was an old Fender Stratocaster 59 model that was traded to me, maybe a week or two prior, by Chris Gifford. Most people knows him as Christopher Cross Band. Chris Gifford's a good buddy of mine, and he traded me that old guitar for an old Gibson guitar that he liked. Chris, I don't think, knows that even as of this day that he had one time owned this guitar that is without question priceless. But some of these days Chris might come by and I'll be kind of excited to tell him that, hey, that old guitar that is probably worth $1 million you owned, that you traded me for an old Gibson that was worth about $500. He told me lots of times he had come by, and thank goodness I found that old guitar. I would usually, he'd usually stay around here and play guitar with us for, most of the day. Come time to quit, I'd usually say, Stevie, I'm homesick, man, I'm about ready to get out of here. I'd usually take him out a one-nighter, and 'cause both of us hadn't eaten dinner, so I'd usually buy him a burger and I'd eat a burger. And Stevie would get up would set in on whoever's playing at that little old one-nighter club down on 5th Street. And I'd finally say, Stevie, I'm gone, I'm homesick, sleepy, so I'd go on home, and I don't know how he'd get home. Like I say, I'd leave him up on the bandstand playing with whoever was playing in the band. And next day I'd come to work, and guess what? Same routine starts all over again. Here comes Stevie. Every once in a while I'd say, Stevie, I'm tired of hearing that old noise. Can you play me any kind of a country? And he'd laugh and play me a little Wildwood Flower or Under the Double Eagle or something in an old country song. But then go right back to his old blues stuff. But like I say, I respected him for the music he liked. He knew I didn't mind him playing guitars here all day long, and because he wasn't a hell raiser. He didn't invite conversations. After he started getting popular, everybody started knowing him, and his name got famous. Then he had come up here, and we couldn't visit because all the people would crowd around him. So Stevie would come on by after I closed, and everybody was gone. And we'd go over, a lot of times he'd sit and play music for a while, and we'd do a whole lot of talking. I would touch a whole bunch on being a Christian, talking to him about the Lord, Man, what if you dropped dead? What happened? He said, well, if I'm dead, well, who cares? I said, well, you would, because you're going to meet the Lord. We would touch on girls, we'd touch on Christianity quite often, and fall back over into the music business. And he'd usually bring that what I called an old drunker Strat by, and I'd set it up again for him. I put new strings on it, and he'd leave and say, well, I need a set of strings, so I'd pitch him a set of Dean Markley number 13 gauge, which is a heavy gauge string. He said, pitch him a set of strings out, and he said, well, Ray, if I make any money, I'll pay you. When you finally hit it big, I got a letter from his booking agency out of New Mexico. It said, Mr. Hennig, henceforth, send all bills that Stevie makes to this address in New Mexico. But the last thing he came in and picked up, he came in and I had an old Fender Strat. It was a new Fender Strat hanging. It was about $1,200 one. He said, Ray, how much is that one? I said, well, $1,200. He said, is it a good one? I said, well, the one sitting on the side of it's better. He said, same price? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'll take it. And I put it on a bill. So that went from $5 strings to $1,200 guitars. Now, not a donation, but I'd get a check at the end of the month for whatever he spent on anything he wanted. He would come in and buy, of course, but he wasn't a big money spender. And that went on that way till, of course, the accident.